This is Toon Talk Weekly, episode 234. This week, Brad and I kick off the new year by watching an episode of the 1996 series Pocket Dragon Adventures.
Zoodles! Isn't it great? It's the last snowman of the season, and our best one ever.
It's just perfect. A monument to stand the test of time, and the sun's too strong. It's melting him. All our hard work.
Isn't there some way to save him?
Well, if there is, we'll find it.
The day just keeps getting better.
Boy.
Where is that kid?
Hey everyone, it's Tuesday once again. That means it's time for another episode of the weekly cartoon podcast, Toon Talk Weekly. That's, of course, this show. So thank you once again for joining us. And, of course, Happy New Year to you guys and gals out there for listening to the show on basically the second day of 2018. I'm Jake Williams, and that other voice you hear is Brad Chmielewski. Once again, what's up, man?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going well. Happy New Year to you, man.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
What a whirlwind of a couple of weeks. Like, holidays on Mondays just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. I don't know what it is. You just kind of like, you have the weekend and then the actual extra holiday or whatever, the federal day off for everything that's closed is the next day. And then you just have this weird short week.
Right, yeah. Which, and then, yeah, you're really not back in the groove for like another week.
Yeah. Kind of strange, but we lasted it through it. 2017 is over, for better or worse. I'd like, whatever, like I keep reading, what I love about the end of the year is that a lot of your favorite sites, blogs or TV shows or whatever, do like recaps of the year in your specific genre. So I listen to a lot of video game podcasts, and they do like, here's the best games of the year or the best moments in the game industry for the year. And that stuff's really fun. But the overall tone I hear is like, 2017 sucked for lots of stuff, but for games, it was great. You know, like that's the sentiment I hear a lot.
Oh, really? I guess I didn't hear any of that because we were in, 2016, everyone was like, screw that year. And then
Right.
2017, yeah, there wasn't as much of an echo chamber of, this year sucks.
Yeah. Or like, I mean, this is the year people started doing stuff about stuff they were mad about. And also, you can't just say like, I just want the year to be over. I just want next year. And you can't keep doing that for your whole life. And then like, okay, when were you going to like say you had a good year? I don't know. So,
Right, because nothing day to day, it doesn't, or 1 year to a year doesn't really change anything just because it's a different number at the end of your checkbook or whatever you're writing.
that was a checkbook, Brad?
I don't know. Do you ever write the date on anything else?
I sign my weekly webcomic, but
Okay.
I just write the year. So I guess that'll be weird to get used to.
So there's like never an instant where you're like, let me put the date on this thing.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Do you write anything anymore at all? Are there times you write paper and stuff?
Yep.
So, of course, welcome everybody in. Hope everyone had a safe and happy Christmas and New Year's as well. For whatever holidays you celebrate, we, of course, put out our holiday episode last week covering I want to say Great Pumpkin, or the Great Frosty Charlie Brown. No, Charlie Brown Christmas. And, dude, I got to say, this year it was just such a whirlwind of holiday travel and everything. We drove 15 hours back to my family in the state of Maine. And I watched, like, basically 2 Christmas movies. One was Jingle All the Way, and the other one was Charlie Brown. So that was literally one of the only Christmas things I got to absorb.
Wow.
So, but otherwise, also, I wish what we would have done, dude. We still can do this. I need to look back. I would love to put together like a handful of cartoons that we liked from this past year. And what's fun about that is it's not necessarily that we pick extremely new stuff from 2017. In fact, with the 52 episodes last year, man, maybe only a handful of them were from 2017. So I think it'd be cool to look back at maybe doing a year in review, like either episode or like something for maybe next week. I don't know. We'll talk about it, but
yeah, that'd be good.
I'm sure the listeners would like to hear our opinions again on things we like. We should give awards. The worst cartoon. Like great responsibility comes great power, and we can't.
I guess so. Yeah.
And I said that wrong. Whatever. Anyway, this week, guys, we're talking about a show. I don't know where I picked this one out, man. I think this is something you and I both had never heard of, and after this, probably will never look up ever again. This is a series called Pocket Dragon Adventures. Am I wrong in saying, Brett, that you have never heard of this before?
No, I've never heard of this, and I will continue not hearing of it.
You're like, there's times when you probably look at the cartoon that I pick for a week, and you're like, I just kind of don't want to be on this show.
Yeah, there's times like this where it's like, where did he find this? And why did he pick this? There are so many other cartoons that are good.
Yeah. I try to do the variety thing. And sometimes we're just not going to get to see stuff we want to see. I'm totally like painting this ill picture of this show before we even talk about it. But
it's like the equivalent of like, hey, where do you want to eat? You know what? I'll just get something at the gas station and eat that. Like there are so many restaurants and you could have picked anything and you ate at the gas station.
You opt for the gas station? That's disgusting. All I can picture is the little hand pies, right? The little like cherry pies or something.
You probably have like the hot dogs that have been there forever too.
So that's basically Pocket Dragon Adventures, according to Brad, are the little hot dogs at a gas station that have been there for a couple of days. I do have some thoughts on the show, obviously, as we get into the discussion about it and where it kind of sits in cartoons or whatever. But the show is actually a short-lived, believe it or not, 1996 syndicated cartoon series based on the Pocket Dragon Adventures, or Pocket Dragon character, which is created by Real Musgrave. And it's best known for sort of the Pocket Dragon figurines that were also based on his work.
Okay.
Original release September 96 to January 97. So over 4 months, 1 season and 52 episodes were released into syndication, produced by BK Entertainment and Diocon Productions, and of course Deke Entertainment. So we got to bring them up. So what I found interesting about this, I'm not too familiar with how this works, and I think this is a issue where if someone knows, toontalkweekly@gmail.com, let us know. I didn't realize that I think some series were at one point made specifically to go out into syndication, not to be produced and shown weekly as new episodes. Like, it sounds like, or at least in my head, I would assume the process would go like this. Studio says, or channel, whatever says, we want a 52 episode series. We just order it from the production company and you just make them for us and give them to us. Not like a South Park, like make us one every week and we'll keep paying you as we go. So kind of interesting that it goes straight into syndication. I think we've covered a couple of shows like that before as well. The show itself, the actual series, was created by Craig Miller and Marv Wolfman, produced and edited the entire series. I guess together or separately, those two creators actually wrote over 40% of the total episodes. And then it was actually, this show, interestingly enough, was the very first animated series signed to a labor contract with the Writers Guild of America. So,
oh, wow, okay.
Like, there you go. Kind of historic in that sense in 1996.
Yeah.
So what can you expect from an episode of the series Pocket Dragon Adventures, aside from maybe, I think the name maybe is conjuring up a little Polly Pocket, maybe even evoking some Pokemon type of thing. You're not really sure what's going on here, but the story is that the cartoon was about the pocket dragons, who are a group of very small dragons, go figure, who live with a kindly old wizard, and they go on a ton of adventures together. The setting is in the medieval era. There's other elements thrown in, like I guess there's episodes with yellow painted taxi cabs pulled by rhinoceroses, just very strange sort of mishmashy fantasy elements. Lots of medieval fare, armored knights, science fiction elements sometimes. There's sometimes flying saucers. It's literally just like, it's like the creator said, listen, we got these little dragons. They live with an old wizard. And then just anything can happen.
Right.
Potpourri at that point. Just throw it at the wall.
But they're basically, it's like the Smurfs, but with little dragons.
Yeah, I also thought of Care Bears for some reason, but maybe it was just that there was like, I don't know, they're just little, I guess Smurfs is more apropos because they're small, right?
Right.
Like
and they all the Smurfs had, you know, there's Brainy Smurf, and there's the Worker Smurf. I don't know, whatever.
Worker Smurf.
There's probably a Worker Smurf. There's George, the Worker Smurf.
My favorite is Labor Smurf. He just does all the HR paperwork and all that stuff.
No, HR Smurf.
HR Smurf. Yeah, Big Business Smurf. You know, it's just my favorite Smurfs. We could come up with some real good Smurfs. But yeah, a ton of characters in the main like kind of group of pocket dragons, and they give them those very, I can only say cliche, but these like very put in a box descriptors or like identifiers of who this character represents, so you can identify them. So like Brad said, you got the nerdy one, you got the, well, I guess that's the super smart one, you've got the leader, you just kind of got these tropes, but they try to break them into as many sort of individual boxes as they can, so that you as the kid, you as the viewer, can like identify with who your favorite is, and then go buy those toys, basically. The main characters that we'll talk about today, and actually, I'm not going to talk a ton about the characters during the episode because from one scene to the next, the first time I've seen this show, I can't recall which character was involved in which scene here and there kind of thing. But we've got Filbert, who's kind of the leader. He's the oldest guy. He's got a red bandana around his neck. Zoom Zoom might be my favorite, who kind of wears like an old style aviator helmet. I figured he was kind of Brad when I watched this. He's just ready to go. He's the fastest. He wishes he could fly. He's very ambitious. He's also got 6 entrepreneurial enterprises. No, I don't know. You've got Specs, who is the large eyeglasses dragon. He's kind of a bookworm. Scribbles is one of the 2 female dragons. She's an inventor. Binky is the other female. She's kind of the smallest and the youngest, like the baby of the group. Kind of like the, I guess, Sally in a way of Peanuts, right?
Yeah.
Cuddles wears slippers and carries a pillow, so literally sleepy all the time. And then there is another dragon named Jassy, who's only featured in 1 episode, so he or she does not matter at this point. And the only way I can describe the wizard, I did a little more research on the show, is that he owns the castle that the dragons live in, and he's super good at magic. That's all. That's all I can tell you about the wizard that they live with.
Right, because he wasn't in this episode.
No, that's the weirder part, I guess. And the other thing was, I think that some episodes are the 12-minute or the standard like 11-minute show, and I think some are actually full half hours. So I don't know, man. This show's kind of all over the place for me. I don't know how it got made. Is like where my head's at, really. And so this week, let's talk about a little bit of an episode. This is Pocket Dragon Adventure Season 1, Episode 33. It's entitled Winter Takes All. And if you're anywhere in the Midwest or East Coast, this time of year, the weather, for whatever reason, is unseasonably cold, so this episode might give you chills. Sorry, I had to. I don't know. It's so dumb. If I could unwrite that, I would.
It's like you're doing like a Halloween spooky thing.
Yeah, exactly. So Winter Takes All. In the beginning of the show, you do get a full 1 minute, almost over a minute, intro to the Pocket Dragons. It is a pretty catchy, fun tune. And it does what I feel a show that doesn't have a big following or needs you to know what every character is does, which is the theme song is describing what every single character is. Like who they are. It's like, oh, Specs made this, and then Zoom Zoom ran fast, and
right.
So kind of, I don't know, forgettable, but also pretty fun. It shows a little bit of the character of these dragons. The episode begins, we're kind of out in the snow, but there's a dragon, one of them is hanging out in the hot springs that are kind of nearby the castle, and saying, basically, almost like it's a beach day, that he's hanging out in these hot springs. Also, do dragons get cold? They're reptiles, so...
So no, they don't.
So they're just chill, yeah. That's why they're not wearing any pants or anything. I also don't know the last time I saw a dragon with pants, even. I'm just getting totally derailed here. So the dragons, some of them are having, while one of them is hanging out in the hot springs, they call him over and they're asking, hey, can you help us finish the snowman we're building? He's almost done. Some of the dragons are cute. They're kind of stacked up on top of each other, kind of trying to help build and craft the snowman. But the sun above is making it too warm to actually build this thing. So they try to come up with different ideas that they can all work together as a team and keep the snowman alive, to keep whatever their little project is. I think the very first one was, let's just build an igloo, another snow thing, around the snowman. And of course that doesn't work. I think that also very quickly melts. They learned that wasn't going to be a very good solution. The second thing was that some of the inventor dragons got together and they sort of started building this big fan that they could turn this crank, right, and kind of blow cold air onto it. However, Zoom Zoom, being way too excited, the aviator of the group, kind of started pushing this crank as hard as he could, and the wind was way too powerful, so it started blowing pieces off of the snowman, so that's not going to work.
Right.
It's just they were looking for all kinds of sorts of things to keep this snowman alive. It's not until they head back to the drawing board in the castle that they say, hey, I can summon this incantation. I can do a magic spell from the spell book. One of the dragons apparently is privy to magic or can read. And starts to do this spell on the snowman, sort of this magic aura sorts of happens, and then it actually morphs into this ice giant creature.
You little dragon things. Was it you who freed me from my long imprisonment?
You better believe it.
Then I am momentarily in your debt.
You're welcome.
By Ymir's beard, why is it so frightfully warm? You could melt a glacier in here. If there's anything I hate, it's you. Much better.
So basically, this ice giant creature was in some sort of prison, and now the spell has released him, and he's supposed to be mean, but did you get that feeling when you saw him?
Not at first. I thought he was just a grumpy old man. So when he came out, he seemed a little grumpy, but also hey, you guys awoken me. I'm going to grant you some wishes.
Yeah, a little bit. And it's also, as the episode progresses, I know he's supposed to be this ice giant who was in prison for something. He just is kind of a curmudgeon. He's not really evil. He's not, I don't even know if he's old. He's just angry at everything. He's kind of a jerk.
Yeah.
Kind of an interesting villain here. So they don't really know what to do with this guy. He starts to basically frost all these things, shoot his ice snow powers all over the castle. Even though the wizard, as Brad mentioned, is not in this episode, but he even takes his throne. He covers it in snow and is this looks like a good place to sit. And suddenly the dragons are actually put into, he's annoyed that they keep asking him all these questions. And he puts them into this ice kind of dome prison thing and goes off to continue frosting the castle. He could be a baker or something like that. And it's the dragons are kind of worried, but they can't get out of this prison, and they know they need to do something about this, especially now that the wizard's not around. They need to solve the problem themselves. I do like how ingenious Specs was, the big eyeglasses here, to get out of this little prison. He just kind of holds his glasses up to the sunlight and melts the snow to get out of there. And throughout the castle, everything is snow and ice. They're having a hard time getting around. And after several attempts to I basically try to find different things to get rid of this ice giant, he keeps kicking them out of the castle. I think the final thing that they do is that they realize, hey, this guy hates heat. He's like a snowman in that regard. We need to try to melt him.
Well, because he said That was when he said that he needed to prove that he could freeze this whole castle because he's really just an ice giant apprentice.
Yeah.
And he will get full powers, or I don't know, full respect.
Right.
That was super vague and kind of like a weak thing to maybe make you feel bad for him. Like I thought, maybe these dragons are going to let him freeze this to help him out. But no, they were still like, get out of our castle.
But he's kind of just a jerk about the whole thing. So why would they want to help him, right? I think one of their original things was to try like lighting a fire or having candles, and he just wasn't having any of it. And then finally, the final solution was pretty fun, right? The ice giant comes home to the castle, apparently his new home, and there's three of the dragons are sitting there in beach chairs with like the beach hats on and sunglasses and funky drinks, and they're like, "Oh man, it's such a sweltering warm day out there, don't you think?" And what they've done here is to make it warm. They're trying to make him feel like it's warm. But he also starts melting. We see this ingenious like pipe all the way back to the crank that they used earlier in the episode that is actually piping in steam from the hot springs that are right next door.
Yeah.
I believe that, what's his name? Zoom Zoom is encouraged to keep cranking as fast as he can for more cookies, basically.
Hi, welcome back. Care to join us?
You kiss out like milk?
I just love these warm winter days.
But it's colder and cold in here.
Is it? Gee, you could have fooled me.
I've been meaning to ask you, for a so-called giant, how come you're so short?
Well, actually, I'm only an apprentice frost giant until I can prove myself. That's what this is all about. If I can freeze an entire castle, then I can...
Do they make him? I can't remember. He doesn't like melt, does he? He just go away?
Yeah, it's just not working. He's like, I can't do this. I'm done. He just gave up.
Yeah, so he's not going to get the respect he needs at that point. And that's like literally it. It's like, okay, we've piped in some steam, so now he's unpleasant in this place, and now there's no more ice giant. That was season 1, episode 3 of Pocket Dragon Adventures: Winter Takes All. So we've walked you guys through an episode. I don't blame you if you don't go look this show up, because it's quite like it's like your standard like 90s cartoon fare. I don't know how else to say it.
I feel like our description was slightly confusing of the episode, and
yeah, I guess like if you were saying it in like a couple sentences, the dragons summon an ice giant. They can't get rid of him, so they pipe in steam to make him go away. Like they heat up the castle so he doesn't. So it's unpleasant for him.
Yeah.
So kind of weird. Yeah.
What was neat about this is it felt like maybe like a Frosty the Snowman kind of story to start with, which was like, oh, okay, we're coming off the holidays. Maybe that's why Jake picked this one. And then it turned into this weird ice giant thing.
If only I could say I was actually that fortunate, like had that much foresight to actually pick that episode. No, I did like the winter theme of the episode, but what were your thoughts on like the show? I mean, you made the hot dog reference earlier, but like it's kind of a weird one, right?
It's so forgettable and just like I said, like it's a Smurfs, like swap any group of characters, fruits, I don't know. They could be anything in place of that, and you just put the same storylines over and over again. Like, I'm sure there's a villain that is always coming and trying to take the pocket dragons or something, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, man. It felt like a network. I don't think I read it earlier. I don't know what network this aired on, but like it felt like a network needed a show to go up against some other show. And this is kind of a successful formula. It reminds me of some of those cartoons, and I don't have a specific example right now, that we've watched before that just make a show based on toys, but then they just apply a story to the cartoon, so it like doesn't really hold water because the toys didn't have a story anyway. They just kind of make it up as they go, and so this kind of starts to feel that like the animation's fine, the character design is fun. Like if I was a kid, then I'd probably dig these characters too because they're cute little dragons. And especially if you're looking for that like medieval fare of the way things look in that kind of genre, then great. but Pocket Dragon Adventures maybe just doesn't hold up, and that's probably why you guys have never heard of it at this point. If you've ever heard of it before, it just kind of didn't stand the test of time. It also only ran for one season for a total of 4 months, so it really wasn't around for a whole long time. So how did I find it? I have no idea, man. Sometimes I just find these things. But I think it's good to see the good and the bad and see kind of what's out there for animation. So I'm done talking about it. So let's get out of here. Brad, all right. Yeah. Where can people find out more about you, Brad, when you're not recording Toon Talk Weekly?
So you can follow me on Twitter. It's @brad, and then my blog is digitalhitchhiker.com.
Great, guys, go check them out over there. And you can follow me on Twitter @Jacob Williams. Of course, Toon Talk Weekly. If you want more of the show, we're on Twitter @Toon Talk Weekly, Facebook.com/Toon Talk Weekly. Over on Google Plus is Toon Talk Weekly as well. And toontalkweekly@gmail.com is the email you can send us any messages. As I mentioned earlier, if you know any more about like how old syndication of shows worked, I would love to know the background of that. I'm not sure if anyone listening ever worked in that or knows, but I would love to learn about that. And then toontalkweekly.com is the main hub for the show, which with each episode we post the video version over on our YouTube. Head on over to the YouTube version in the post, hit that subscribe button, help us get a vanity URL so I can send you guys there way easier. It's a little more work to do the video version, but we also like putting it together because we get to show you guys clips of the actual shows as well. As long as they're not taken down by copyright.
Yeah.
We're totally fine. So next week, I don't have a cartoon picked out for the new year. But as I mentioned, we might put together a little bit of a like kind of best of or favorite of 2017 show. But also, to kind of wrap up the year, I think. But also, we might try a little bit of different format where we talk about sort of our experience with checking out a show, not necessarily walking you guys through one episode, but it's something that we wanted to test it out, see how it goes. So we might shoot for that next week so we can see a different format of the show. And then, of course, we're always open on social media, and we have the toontalkweekly@gmail.com we mentioned. Let us know what you guys think of the format of the show or what more you'd like to hear from us. New year, new things. It's always fun to change stuff up and see how that goes. So. But yeah, I think that's it from us here at Toon Talk Weekly. Welcome into the new year. Welcome to 2018. Let's get started with another year of cartoons. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back next week with another cartoon.
Take care.
To learn more about the show, visit toontalkweekly.com or follow us on Twitter @ToonTalkWeekly.